Um, but what I would like to um, preface this session by saying is that um, when I deliver the fundamentals to you guys, I really want you to not just listen, but I want you to go back and actually study what these things are. Like you can take one news item a week, you can take a news item a day, however you want to do it. But the key to being successful as a trader and being successful in life is understanding and knowing stressors. So, part of what I'm going to talk about tonight, when it comes to neuroscience, is going to be related to essentially stress. Um, why people overtrade, why people in the same realm overeat, and then also in the same realm overspend. So we are currently in a season where people are eating a lot. People are spending a lot of money during the holiday season or not. But as far as our group, we do talk about trading and investing. So um, I just wanted to say that first. So I'm going to share my screen. We are going to first go over the Forex Factory calendar. And as we go over the Forex Factory calendar, again, these items that are on this calendar, there are different folders for different levels of impact. Um, I want you to see these folders as just news items that mean more than the other. Um, so I don't want you to compare them to anything outside of the context of what's on the calendar. And I'm saying that because in your brain right now, when you're looking at this calendar, let's say that trading is how you make your income. It's your bread and butter. When you look at this calendar, you immediately go into a stress mode because immediately you're thinking, okay, how many red folders are there? How many orange folders are there? What time do they come out? Okay, when do I trade? So you're constantly scrolling. Your brain immediately goes into this, I have to figure out what's going on mode. That triggers several other responses, sorry, in your brain, which I am going to talk about on this call. So first, um, when you look at this calendar, when you pull it up, I want you just to say, okay, Monday, those are the events that are happening. And comparatively speaking, when the Royal Bank of Australia governor comes out to speak, it is more important than when Christine Lagarde speaks for the for the European Central Bank. So do it comparatively. I am actually going to talk about the news too, by the way. So tomorrow we have some news items that are coming out that are going to be of significance, comparatively speaking, on the calendar. So we have consumer confidence news coming out for the US. So currently in the environment that we have in the United States, it is an environment where we have several different dynamics going on. On the political front, we have an election that's coming up. It doesn't seem like it's a year or so from now, but it is. Um, so we have that ramping up. We also have um, lots of um, wrangling politically that's going on, last minute things that are trying to be put into effect before this current administration either stays or goes. And that starts to have a bearing on how the fiscal side, the financial side of the United States works, meaning the Treasury, the Federal Reserve, because while it might seem like, okay, government entities, they would work together for the common good. No, that's not how the government works. We would love to have that lovey-dovey story. It would sound great and amazing, but no, that's not how it goes. Currently, the Fed has raised rates. If you've been in the market for any type of loan, you would have seen the effects. If you are a user at a bank, you've also seen the residual effects of that because you've seen an increase in some of your deposit rates. But the consumer confidence news and all of that factors out because people are looking at all of those things that I just mentioned. And people are taking that into account, not only for right this moment, but how confident are you in the future that these things are going to be better, stay the same? So there's a survey that goes out. People answer this survey. They tally the responses that comes out in a survey. Um, we also have speeches from the Open Market Committee, and we have several speeches from other central banks around the world. And yes, we will listen to all of those. Right now, globally speaking, we're just listening. This isn't really the time politically, it's not the time financially, geopolitically to take any kind of action um, other than really just trying to hedge and protect what you might already have. Some people are making big shifts in their portfolio. However, whenever you do look at the shifts that most people are making, they're making their shift out of risky assets. Um, Believe it or not, right now the US is a risky asset. So there are several corporations that are moving their money outside of the US dollar. There are several large corporations that are moving their assets from risky investments to treasuries, bonds, things that will hold their value a little bit longer, take advantage of some of the rates that are out there because currently for the commercial market, a lot of these companies are just wanting to make it through this period of time. You should want to do the same. Most corporations start doing things before the average consumer. So there's always a lag. And when, let's say, a politician or a CEO or a corporation in general might take action versus the consumer has to feel it before they make the change. The corporations and the politician might make a rational decision to actually do it because the patterns have been seen, things have come up. They kind of know or have a feeling for what's going to happen. And also, this sounds really bad, but they have more to lose. So they go into protection mode way earlier than the average consumer. So those are things right now that I see, things that we'll be paying attention to. Wednesday, we have consumer price index news for the euro that will be coming out. We have GDP news for the United States. And this one is going to be important for us to look at and think about, not necessarily take action on, because this news is going to determine where rates go. In addition to personal consumption expenditure, CPI news that might come out. These are all things like how fast is the economy either growing or slowing? And once we take a look at those items, or once the Fed, excuse me, takes a look at those items, then a decision can be made on whether or not rates are okay where they are, if rates need to be tightened more, or if rates need to be reversed. The thing you don't want to do, or the thing that the Fed doesn't want to do, is reverse rates too early. That has happened before and has kind of caused a slight collapse in portions of the market. Um, However, the Fed will do what it deems necessary based on the results or the actual figures that come out from these news items. Thursday, if you don't know, haven't been paying attention, there is currently several wars going on around the world. Most people have their eyes currently on Israel. Russia's still a thing. There's several how can I word it? Points of tension in South America and in Africa. Um, most of these amongst countries that have something to do with oil. So it's going to be very interesting to hear this OPEC meeting or see headlines, news, interviews that come out of this meeting on Thursday. Um, Anytime you hear the words war, conflict, troops, soldiers, protection, arms, anytime you hear any of those buzzwords, keywords, um, OPEC should be one of the first things that comes to mind. If you are solely a U.S. investor, companies like U.S. Steel, Alcoa, companies that have government contracts, like those type of companies should come to mind because those are the company, Halliburton. I know I was missing a really important one. Those are the companies that should come to mind because those are the companies that are going to help fund, supply, and get the military and also the commercial market through a lot of what's going on. Um, you can also include some of the other companies like Boeing into that mix as well. So I mentioned PCE earlier, personal consumption expenditure. We do get that news on Thursday as well as unemployment claims. Again, all of these news items are going to factor into whether or not the Fed is going to increase rates next month. And then we get Friday. Friday is going to be a very interesting day for us as far as Fed speeches or speeches coming out of central banks, period. We get one from the European Central Bank at 6:30, but that one, as far as European news, is going to be one of the more important European news items. However, we get a speech from, or Jerome Powell is going to be speaking, should I say, on Friday. That is going to take more precedence over Christine Lagarde speaking, especially when it comes to New York and when it comes to what people are anticipating the Fed doing. So just to give you guys, like, I always give my, what do I think is going to happen in 2024 or the next year, so to say, speech. Um, I will definitely give you guys that whole rundown, and you guys will get that whole rundown on I scheduled it for December the 22nd, but I might do it on Friday, December the 15th. Actually, I'll move it. I'll do it on Friday, December the 15th. Just kind of give you guys a heads up of when I'll actually do that. I'll cover the market cycles that have changed. The market cycles will be closing, entering, going into 2024. If wars continue, what to look at, kind of focus on. I am going to mention this crypto. We've seen a lot happen in the crypto market. We've also seen a lot happen in AI. If it's not Sam Bankman-Fried, it's been Sam Altman, it's been OpenAI, it's been just a whole lot of things just kind of happening, especially in the last couple of months or so. Please don't forget, and I will cover this in detail, I promise you, that there are rules and regulations and programs going into place in the first quarter of next year and the beginning of the second quarter next year that is going to impact the financial market. Also, we have like some big crypto items coming up in April and in May. We have the shift in how some of the background connecting pieces kind of work as far as like the interconnectivity of banks. That's going to be all happening like within 4 to 6 weeks of each other. So I don't know currently how the crypto market is going to hold up. Not saying that it's going to collapse. I'm not saying anything like that. Not to add a stressor to your life, but it is to say that if you haven't properly thought about diversifying yourself, whether it's within crypto, because I'm not necessarily saying get out, do as you please, but um going into next year is not the time to have all of your eggs stacked up in one basket. It's never a good idea to do that, but there's a lot of unpredictable factors that's going to go into next year. So, with that being said, though, I am going to transition for about 9 minutes. So, I'll wrap up at about 9 p.m. Eastern time. So, just to talk a little bit about why I've been talking about stressors, why I've been talking about this whole neuroscience thing. So, um, a lot of people say that they know what they want. So, if I were to poll most of you here on this call and ask you, why do you trade or what do you want out of life? Most people would say they want money, they want to be rich, they want to be wealthy, all of these things. They sound really good. However, there are lots of studies. Um, I had to just pick a few, but that show that most people, what you want and what your expectations of a thing are, are not actually what you want. And how you perceive things um, are not actually how they are either. So this study right here that I have pulled up, yes, it's about food, but I pulled this one up because the same centers of the brain that deal with food are the same centers of the brain that deal with how the same area of the brain that you use when you trade. It's the reward center. It's the center of the brain that it gets triggered in gambling and in high impulse activity, which some would be considered or some would consider trading, especially if you trade on a lower time frame. I'm not saying don't trade on a lower time frame. I'm saying that you have to be more conscious of your actions when you do trade on a lower time frame. This study asked people prior to if you had juice or water, which thing would give you more of a pleasurable stimulus. So most people would say juice. Most people would think juice. Juice is sugar, it's pleasurable on the tongue. So most people went into this drinking the juice, thinking that they were going to have a pleasurable response from the juice. What was the end result of this? That people had a pleasurable response from water also. Um, so the pleasurable response came from both. Actually, it was more so from the water. Why was this? So on the outside of the brain, you think you want one thing, but subconsciously, it's not subconsciously, it's subcortically, but under the layers of the brain that we use to think, how we truly function, the areas of the brain that work without us telling it to work, preferred both. So the disconnect is between what we really want and what our body really wants and likes versus what we think we like. And that thought process continues over into studies about gambling and gambling addiction. It also carries over to how does gambling relate to illicit drug use? So, this is for those people who choose to delve into outside substances while they trade. I would highly recommend that if you are a morning trader, don't drink the night before. Don't smoke anything, snort anything the night before you trade. You need a period of time for your brain to efficiently wash itself out. while you sleep, your brain needs 6 to 7 hours to clean itself up. There is some truth to having the need for decent sleep at night. 6 to 7 hours is about that range. That's how much time it takes for your brain to go through, create new cerebral spinal fluid, which is the fluid that cushions the brain. It provides the brain with nutrients, for your blood to circulate, for your liver and your kidneys to do its work to filter out toxins, for your brain to actually start to break down and get rid of plaques and actually fix connections between neurons that don't fire well together. You need that overnight. So if you do choose to do anything extra outside of water and just eating healthy, that will impair your trading. Um, it's not done anymore at the rate that it was before. I'll leave it at that. But in humans, it has been studied. They are able to study it in rats more ethically. So they do study cocaine and dopamine and all of those things in rats and find that they make more impulsive choices when they've been exposed to cocaine, heroin, meth, marijuana, not necessarily marijuana, but THC, um, alcohol. When they've been exposed to those things, they make more um, decisions that just aren't right. And the other thing that is found in this study is that the more flashy and the more visually the more visually stimulating something may be, the more impulsive you become. So if you have something flashing in your face, MetaTrader 4 or 5, hint hint, or if you have a ladder in front of your face and it's flashing at you as the price is changing, you're more likely to just make a very risky, rash decision and not think about it and take what we would call in neuroscience the low road, which is where you make super impulsive decisions and you don't even think about it, as opposed to the high road, which is more complex thought process. So, last thing, really quick, I kind of mentioned this earlier. Um, so that whole system, when you sit down in front of your computer and you're looking at your trade, and if you are a trader and this is your bread and butter, listen to me for the next 2 minutes. I need for you to find a way so that whenever you're sitting at your computer, you have de-stressed and taken the stress out of your trading. Because when you sit down at your computer, the first thought in your head, and it's the same thought process for a person that goes to a 9 to 5. You're outside of your environment for a 9 to 5 person who leaves the home. You're outside of your environment. You drove to work. You're not around people you want to be around. You're not really eating what you want to eat. You're uncomfortable. You're having to do stressful activity. Whenever you do all of those things, you're in stressor mode, fight or flight mode all day long. When you come home, you want to relax. Your body is ready to like stop being stressed out. When you're a trader from home, you're in your own environment, but you're stressed out. Your pupils are dilated, your heart beats really fast. You probably eat more because your body is just releasing all of this glucose into your system because your body is just constantly ready to go, go, go. It's ready to click the button. It's ready to do something really, really fast because that's how trading goes. You just have to get in at the right time. So if you can take a step back and say, I am going to sit here and trade, I am going to have a good trading day. If I don't catch this trade, it is okay. There will always be another trade. This is going to lead into the next class where I'm going to talk about how and why words matter. Your brain really does listen to what you say and focuses on and keys in on literally what you say and becomes tunnel visioned around it. So that's it. I'm done. I told you that I was going to be done at 9. Next class, I'm not covering the Forex Factory calendar or anything on it. We are strictly going to talk about neuroscience. We are going to talk about the lobes of the brain because I want you to really understand the process that your brain goes through when you trade and how it affects your body and how your body affects your brain, aka what you're eating, how that affects your brain, and then how when you're trading, if you stay in a high stressed mode, those hormones that flow through your body just wreak havoc on your intestines, on your organs, and on your life expectancy. So I'm done.
God almighty. Saucy. I told y'all it was gonna be saucy tonight. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna leave that with that. And as always, thank you, Coleman, for coming through with the sauce tonight. We've been missing you, so it's great that you came through tonight and blessed us with the sauce that you blessed us with. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm gonna take a few questions if anybody has any questions. As always, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight, tuning in, getting this knowledge and empowering yourselves. Let your family and friends know you love them while they're still here, please. And as always, peace and love, everybody. No